call the meeting to order. Roll call, Phyllis.
Bill Carbach, absent. Ken Meyer?
Here.
John Schultz?
Here. The minutes of the Board of Works meeting on July the 20th were all emailed.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that. Motion is carried. First item is, there seems to be some confusion over where the lines are for our old city hall and that parking lot. I think we need to move forward and get a survey done on that. So Phyllis will find the money to pay for that.
Well, no, wait, let me just ask, I mean, but we own the parking lot too, but there's still a boundary between the
Right, there's a
property,
boundary
the
between
property of the
the
city hall and...
City hall
Right.
building and the parking lot are separate.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
That would make sense. If someone's going to buy it, they're going to need to know that.
So how do we move forward on that, Tim? Just get a couple prices from a local surveyors? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
you're talking well below any requirements to do something more formally, so you can do that and then just choose
Okay,
surveyor to go for.
I'll get a price from two different surveyors. Is it okay to move forward once we get those, or I'll keep everybody informed of what those costs are?
Yeah, you may want to just bring that up at the council meeting and have them confirm
Put that on your notes, Kenny, because I don't have that.
that they'll fund it. So,
Ah, shit. Oh, did I say that? Okay. So we approved the minutes, survey, both those places. Really, I need for council, so we can sit here and twiddle our thumbs here for a few minutes.
Yep.
Oh,
I got something.
Oh, gosh.
we have
yeah,
an
we got
agreement.
that.
We have an agreement with
get
the
that, yeah.
county for technology support and service for the police department, sewer department, fire department, both phone and data line. So we need to make that a matter of record.
Would you call it technology what?
Technology support agreement.
So moved.
Second, motion is carried. Well, we got that done, Phyllis.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to that on the calendar.
Tim, what do you got for us?
Greg dropped off the mailing that he received from Mr. Davis.
Did you get one?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get that?
Mm-hmm.
I did too.
Okay. So, there,
Did you read it?
yeah, I did.
I did too.
There's, he has this perception that he's being picked on, and there's no basis for it, but Greg and I talked briefly, and I think Greg has tried to make sure that the risk of any confrontations is kept to a minimum, and we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
he can try to file something if he wishes, but if he's talking about
We're not
going
gonna
to
accept
federal
anything.
court, it's pretty strict in terms of compliance, and I doubt that it would go anywhere.
Well, even in his own words, when he went to court here, they just kind of...
That's what I mean.
Let him off.
There's no basis, but he's
You don't know.
an elderly man, and he has.
Well, just the public attention it would bring,
Mm-hmm.
would have a negative tone, so.
Yeah. So I think at this point, there's really not much we need to do, but if it becomes something that any kind of filing does happen, then obviously we need to contact the insurance carrier and let them know. But there's just no basis for it, and I understand he's frustrated, but
You know he's been mailing us letters.
yeah, I know this has
Yeah.
been
I've
an
kept every
ongoing
one of
thing
them.
for
There's a
years.
bunch of them, probably
I know.
20.
Well, I think, yeah.
So anyway,
Did you get, you all got one?
20 mil, or 10 million. 10 million?
Mhm.
I don't know what the ribbon is involved.
That was nice, wasn't it?
Anyway.
Hey, he's got his right.
Yeah?
Well, I told Greg I'd just file it and we'll keep an eye on it.
I think it's Mahan's fault.
We're waiting for the rest of the council members to finish what they're doing. Not that they have any vote on the Board of Works, but we just like to keep them advised of what's going on. Get close, Rod. We're getting close. Tonight, we're going to go through the budgets. Department heads will be here to answer any questions, so. Tim, you want me to leave?
Rod, you got two guys up here, one guy that will really like your shirt,
I'm going to leave mine.
and the other one that won't.
Mayor, if you want to go use
Phyllis
mine.
sent me mine. I thought I brought it.
Really, 2016, 2015, the difference really is 344,000. And the difference is also Lowit. This figure 16 from the Lowit is the 344. Make sense?
The only thing I don't understand, Phyllis, is what's that negative 16? That's,
That's what John just explained.
well,
Because the lowest not included in there.
I know,
We never
but-
had a lowest before.
I know that, but that's 361,000.
Why not?
It's because of the riverboat being a negative, that column then is a negative column, which comes off the...
Can you, I don't.
Yeah, if you have the 35,000, that riverboat revenue sharing is 35,000 negative. Then if you take the 5,000 where the local road and street went up, that's where you get the 30,000. This minus this is this. No.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'd have to check it. I didn't bring mine. I mean, I didn't have that part of it. I should have checked that closer.
Hi, Bill.
What do you mean? Can I have your autograph, Bill, and capital and certificate for solid waste? What did I do wrong, John?
I don't think you did it. I'm just trying to
Oh.
make sure
Mr. Craig.
four. These two figures equal each other, so it's the 16,000 from the 361.
Right. But what Kenny was asking is how do you
How do you
get
get
that?
that 16,000?
Where's that coming from? Is it a combination of things
It's
above?
the whole column.
Right.
All
So
of us
there's
just walking down the
negatives.
sidewalk going, have you been
There
there?
must be more negatives than positives. That came out to that. That's the whole entire row.
Soon they got
That's what I was saying.
Hi, Tyler. How's your trip?
Good.
Good. Did Cam disappear on us?
Sure did.
He must went to the restroom.
Boy, Davis scared him.
Did you get yours? Okay. Everybody, did you get one, Tyler? You're not on the list yet,
I need
huh?
to sign
I'll
that.
get
I
you a
can't
copy.
imagine how much he's spending postage alone, just all the
Well,
mailings he's...
well, and then he goes to Washington D.C. You don't do that for nothing.
Yeah, but he's never specified what we did wrong. I mean, he's got some conduct issues, but those don't rise to the level of federal court, okay?
$10 million worth.
That would be local, you know, and he has to say to his valley his civil rights, well, it's a constitutional issue, right, Tim?
The only local thing I've ever seen he sent is the McDonald's parking lot.
Well, misconduct, right? I mean, he mentioned
Yeah, but what-
misconduct.
there's nothing to do with him.
Get you in federal court, I believe. I think he needs a higher good attorney.
Somebody said it. They saw him with Ann Razzo. I don't think so. Thanks, Cam. We have Rod Rinkenberger. Rod and Roger Gage, our guy, have worked together. Rod was instrumental. He was the lead person for us back in the 2003 flood, and we got a FEMA grant I believe it was okayed in 2006. I think that took us to 52 homes that were 63 total, 52 on that one, and there were some other ones down the road, but 63 total. And so he led us through that grant process, and Roger, he learned a whole lot about this whole process. But now there's some funds available that we may be able to buy some more homes. So that's why Rod is here tonight. And you buy these homes for demolition. You don't buy them to fix up and sell or anything like that. So, Rod, I'm going to turn it over to you and Roger. If you maybe want to come up front here, you can just sit here at the table if you'd like. How long you been with the Maumee River Basin Commission?
Roger, grab the mic there.
Yeah, if you would, that'd be great. 20 years?
20 years.
Yeah, look at that shirt.
I know, I like that shirt.
Push the button at the bottom.
You hear that, Rod?
I'm a Purdue grad, so I like
All
your
right,
shirt.
so that sure means money then.
Well,
Not to me.
Jim got out of college and he couldn't find a job with that degree, so he went to IU to get a law degree so he could make a living.
I tell him, it doesn't matter what you put on top, you better have a solid foundation.
Rod? Well, no, hey, Rod's here to talk about, we monitored this recent flood we had back in late June, or mid to late June, and river levels and everything else. So, Rod, I'm just going to turn it over to you.
All right, well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, all of you, for the opportunity to come back down into what I'm going to call my second hometown, the city of Decatur. As Mayor Schultz had indicated, after or even during your flood, just coincidentally, I don't know whether it was timing or by sheer luck, I had scheduled a meeting with Nate Rumschlag and Roger to come down and talk about maybe future acquisitions in Decatur, and it just so happened to be that was within about 12 hours of the day of your crest.
Yeah.
And so we talked at length, came away from that meeting with sort of a game plan, and that game plan was to sort of, Roger and Nate would send out the statement of voluntary participation forms to the local residents to see if anyone was interested even being bought out again.
So how did you select who that was sent to? Roger?
We pretty well went through and just took the areas that were inundated with floodwaters before and kind of started at that point.
So these are homes that were included in the last application, but they weren't enough funds to take care of them.
Yeah, some of Stratton, some of Parkview, some of
Second
Street, yeah.
Okay.
The areas that were...
Is it only homes, or can it be commercial property?
Commercial
Pizza
property,
King, for instance.
okay, commercial property can be purchased through the grant program, but FEMA has always put owner-occupied structures as their highest #1 priority. If the city of Decatur would opt to go and try to help purchase Pizza King, we would need probably at least 8 months to try to prepare that grant application, because that's going to be a little bit unique. Like I said, we would have to make sure that we're going after a specific grant, because some of the grant money that we're going to talk about tonight, that Pizza King, the commercial property wouldn't be eligible.
So this is homes only for this.
Now, what we're talking about tonight would be residential properties.
Correct. And I guess how this sort of fast forwarded, just for the board, as sort of we were laying that groundwork, getting a feel for if there was anyone participating, and we have 22 statement of voluntary participation forms so far.
22 people
And believe me,
responded to Roger?
Yeah, we got
office?
2 more, today. We got 24 now.
So you definitely have an interest here. Timing's everything, and also knowing the right people. A couple days after my meeting down here with the mayor and Roger and Nate, I received a phone call from the state. And this is not uncommon, but based on our history and our ability to successfully implement projects,
When you say our history? You're talking Maumee River
Well,
Basin.
I'm talking about, when I'm saying our tonight, I'm gonna talk about ours is
Decatur?
City of Decatur
Oh,
and
okay.
Maumee River Basin working together.
All right.
Our history is very well recognized and respected by the state, and so I received a phone call offering $400,000 to the City of Decatur if they would want to apply for federal grant fund for that $400,000. Now, it requires a 25% local match, but that would allow us to buy approximately 5 houses and to get a start. And then at the same time, there's also a regular
Now,
grant
this 400,000, Rod, has to be matched, like you said, 1 foot, and that's $100,000. So we're looking at a total of $500,000 available to buy and demolish
5 houses.
5 houses, so about $100,000 a house.
Now, as in the past, the Maumee River Basin Commission has assisted with the City of Decatur with that cost share. We have a board meeting on Thursday night. I'm prepared to ask my board to cost share somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000. I'm hoping I can get them to approve the 40, but it may be somewhere in between. I'm confident I can at least get 20, but I'm going to push really hard to get 40.
So you're saying
Out of that.
40, that's our match dollars, so you're saying the city would only have to go up with 60?
No, 80.
Possibly. 60 to 80.
Yeah.
60 to 80, okay.
Yeah.
And Roger, by the way, is going to represent us at Rod's meeting. I can't go, and neither can Nate, so Roger's going to attend their meeting.
Sounds great.
Well, it's great until we get to Phyllis. You still need $60,000 to $80,000, and it's kind of complicated in it, Phyllis.
Yeah, well, we're committed $500,000 for the project with Stellar and capital improvements. Nature Preserve, $152,000 for that grant.
So,
So,
I think what we're kind of waiting on is our stellar designation. I mean, that tells us a lot. If we're chosen as the stellar community, we've already made a commitment. We don't have, I think Phyllis then could go back and look at her books and say, here's where we can get money, or we don't have enough money. So, but we'll definitely look at it.
how quickly would we move Pam on this project? Do you think?
I don't think you see anything here in 2016,
Which
or
one?
15. excuse me.
Any capital improvement project? Nothing in your...
For Stellar?
At least a year.
It'll be, the first projects would be 2016 for the Stellar projects. Now, if there's other capital projects that the city wanted to undertake prior to that, if you're talking about buying First Street properties, or those could happen yet this year.
Rod, I want to clarify one thing. The $400,000 is coming from the Department of Homeland Security?
It's actually FEMA funding. It's been left over from some of the other mitigation projects throughout the state. And when that happens, in lieu of sending that money back to FEMA Region 5, they have always came to generally the Maumee River
Well,
Basin Commission.
successful organizations like yours.
And offered it if we had a community that could utilize that money. So it's not money that's going to come every year. It's just, this is a special circumstance.
And verbally, the people you deal with in Indianapolis said that if we come up with a match and everything, that basically, we haven't formally applied, but
Correct.
verbally, they think it's a pretty good idea that Decatur would qualify.
Yes.
I'm sorry, regarding the Stellar, it's just a matter of how do we come up with the 80,000?
Yeah.
Well, Mayor, one other thing that Roger and I have talked a little bit about, and I think all of you and Nate, we all talked a little bit about, was there is an opportunity that you may be able to use some, or come up with some of that match on an in-kind basis doing demolition, but that's something that you folks would have to determine before we make the application, whether you have the resources and personnel to do that. But that is an option to do and that would based on the cost estimate of the project, that would be approximately $35,000 to $37,000 you could show as in-kind match.
Jeremy, we put you on the spot here, but do you think we're capable of tearing down some of those houses down on Angus Drive, Parkview Drive?
Yeah. I would want to see the homes, physically see them, but what's down there, yeah, I don't see a problem.
We may have to rent some equipment to get it done.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
There's a couple of them that are
Especially if
targeted.
we're doing a couple of them at a time,
In
just make the rent worth it.
Yeah.
in 2003, did we tear them down?
No.
No, we,
We hired
Les could do a
group.
burn.
Yeah.
What's that?
Les could do a trial burn.
Can't burn them down.
No, I can't, okay.
Oh, is that one of the rules, Rod?
That would be nice.
Well, they could accidentally catch fire.
I'm surprised that didn't happen the last.
Maybe thinking out of the box here, but this fall under the guise of public safety?
Well, I think I mentioned that too. Excuse me, go ahead.
When would this all happen?
For how much?
About 35,000.
The
35 to
grant?
37.
The demolition.
Now, what kind of time frame would this be? Is what,
Well, pending the money, the sooner we can have either a commitment or non-commitment, either way. Because if Decatur can't, I need to immediately go to another community and give them that opportunity.
This is 2015 funds,
Yeah.
so you don't have too many months to deal with them.
The grant process, it will be, this is just based on years of experience, it will be at least till the first or second quarter of next year before we would get any type of approval that we could proceed. So we would be in 2016 for
Yeah,
implementation.
could be as late as June of 2016. before-
And then we typically have a 2-year performance period. Now, on 5 homes, we wouldn't need 2 years to implement that, but
Question Cam had was, does this involve public safety? I think I know what Cam's getting at.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, just the Lowit.
Lowit tax, I mean, can we use Lowit money, I guess, to fund this, public safety?
He's gonna look at me.
Yeah.
I thought it had to be completely fine.
No,
Yeah.
you can,
I can tell
well,
you
that's
other...
primarily where it would be used. but
Other people
it's not
have used it.
limited to it.
Other communities have been very creative in what they use.
What was your question, Matt?
He said other communities have been very creative
Yes.
in where they
I
found
like
the
that
money.
kind of thing.
To my knowledge, the only...
Tyler had a question.
Why can't you just take the city police department and lower their budget $80,000 and use Lowit to pay
For
them?
that.
Is that not
Yeah.
legal or?
We are doing budget.
we already are
You know, we could throw
doing that
some.
with some of it.
Well,
Yeah, but what he's saying is,
he needs money this year.
Oh, this, yeah, that's
It's
right, we need it
gonna be
this year.
money.
Your commitments
Yeah.
today, but the money won't be spent until,
But we still need to
2016.
identify where it would come from.
yeah.
I'm not,
Rod, I guess the bottom line is, when do you need to know so you can move
Now.
forward
Now.
and commit it to us or to another community? Is tonight kind of your D-Day?
Well, for this particular one, yeah, because I'm up against the timeline to get the application submitted. Now, if you don't want to do that, but you want to look at a project being submitted in the next grant cycle, then that would give us, for my cutoff to be able to submit a valid grant application, we've sort of established August the 7th as our drop dead date for accepting any additional properties. So it depends on sounds like with your Stellar grant, your money may or may not be tight, and you won't know that until...
17th of August, so we're 10 days too late for you.
Okay. Then maybe the more effective approach would be to look at taking the next 9 or 10 months and completing the grant application.
It sounds to me like you're pretty confident that 400,000 is ours if we want it. I mean, that's the way it sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
conversations we've had.
I think we should jump on it and take it.
I do too.
That puts Phyllis in an awkward spot trying to find his money.
Well, this won't commit to the Stella project as much. I mean, it'd just take away from them. They wouldn't start those as soon.
Yeah. Well, and some of them stellar projects are not going to go. I mean,
Well, if
it
that's
takes,
the
what,
case,
Nate, 2 years minimum for an NDOT project to proceed? That's minimum.
Well, I mean, I guess is the money coming out of the 2.5 that we allocate over the next 5 years?
Well, we don't know.
Or is it
that for
separate
sure.
than that?
Yeah, it could be separate.
The only reason I bring that up is because that 2.5 was allocated for stellar stuff, and we remember
Not just stellar, but other
capital projects, right? And we specifically didn't tie it to a year. We didn't say 500,000 a year because we wanted the flexibility.
Right.
You know, if we're not going to actually do any projects, if the stellar stuff doesn't start until 2017, but we still, in theory, had $500,000 set aside per year.
You'd have it
And then,
available.
you know, how much of that includes First Street properties or remediation or removal of Schaefer.
Mhm.
But it sure seems to me that we ought to be able, especially if we can do it in kind of,
Well,
30.
what I was worried about is that here we're throwing it at Phyllis, and now she's got to find the money. And I think she will find it. I mean, I think we will, because if we're going to do in kind of 35, and you got 20, we need 45, you know? So,
But if you're telling me you're not going to spend any of that money this year, then there should be some available.
Yeah.
I don't think we are.
Are you saying
Yeah, I think we are. We said we're going to spend $500,000.
It's
No.
each year.
We said we're going to spend $2.5 million over 5 years.
but built into that was these projects that we're currently pursuing on First Street.
Right.
So,
Which we don't want to delay.
there's a line item, and I'm going to bring it up again tonight, but we typically put it into the unsafe building fund. But what about, I mean, can we use the assistant superintendent? I mean, I know it's not, I won't cover all of it, but the assistant,
Roger's assistant, that never existed. There's money in the budget for
Did we
that.
ever,
It's spending money.
did we ever use that money?
Roger?
I just put it in there.
I know, but did we ever use it from 2015?
No, we have not.
I mean,
What's
there's
might be there?
That's
Well,
not
we
in-
only budgeted like 17,000.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
That still.
Still mine.
Plus an in-kind of, you know, the...
Now, wait a minute, you got the superintendent, and you got the assistant superintendent, $44,500.
Huh. Well, that's for 16.
Yeah, all 16.
Yeah.
And
But
15
he's
you're
talking
saying.
about
Oh, I
for this
see.
year.
Yeah.
I think we just...
We reduced it for 15.
17, you, Roger. Yeah,
But-
we've already done the 17,000.
That's typically what... And if you recall back when we got the other grant, the in-kind service was
Big.
big. And-
Well, now, your time goes for in-kind.
Oh,
too.
yeah, anytime.
We're saying 45, but realistically, it could be 30.
Yeah.
I think we'll come up with it.
I do too.
All Rod needs from us tonight is,
Okay,
hey,
tonight.
we're confident we can come up with the money, proceed, get us to 400,000. We'll get the other money. Our 100,000 will come in as we move forward. It's not like we have to have the money tonight.
Yeah, you don't
We just
have
have
to
to say
have it
we will have the money.
Right.
Do they have to do a letter?
Yeah, I'll provide the mayor with a sample letter, and then Phyllis, you're saying that they will have to do a resolution, right?
But does
That's
that
a
need to
re-
be done tonight, or can that be done at our meeting on the 18th?
That could be done on the 18th.
Okay.
You don't have to have that.
The application, I have to hit the submit button on before the 28th of August.
Okay.
So that would give me time to get that and get it downloaded.
All right. That's for the $400,000 grant, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That would give you enough time. If we put this on the agenda for the 18th. Is
It's
that,
just,
But you wanna-
that the resolution says we'll commit to
that,
100,000.
what works? That's city council.
City match.
Yeah, I'll give you some sample language, but I think you'll want to distinguish that you'll part a certain percentage that would be cash and a certain percentage would be in kind.
Rod, have we, since '03 to now, have there not been there hasn't been as much funds available? We've not,
Well, you know, sometimes you work yourself out of a job. By buying those 63 homes, I can remember shortly after Mayor Schultz took office, Decatur was under flood condition, not near as bad as '03, and Mayor Schultz called me and said, Rod, you guys did a fantastic job. We haven't had to lay one sandbag. And I said, well, Mayor, our job's not done yet. He said, yeah, I think you did a pretty good job.
Until this year.
And we've had that conversation on a number of times. And 2015 happened to be the year again.
Yeah.
and then you got 22
24.
or more
Yeah.
applicants.
Okay.
So if this is something that we can apply for with 400,000, that would help take care of five homes, 5 out of those 24, somehow you establish that criteria list as to
Who gets
who
selected?
gets selected.
Yeah, and there's a process for that.
And then,
We've had to already do that. A couple things just for your FYI. The Maumee River Basin Commission has a very, very comprehensive floodplain analysis of the entire watershed on the Indiana side. So we've looked at the inundation depths against every structure. We know what the first floor elevation is. We know if it's a bi-level, whether it's a slab, a crawl space, and we've taken all of that into consideration, as well as the proximity to the river itself. Then, once we establish our criteria and we pick those out, then we consult with the local community, because one of the objectives of FEMA, and likewise of ours, and I believe the cities as well, is when you go into an area, you try your best, although it is conditioned upon a voluntary participation, but you want to try to do it in an orderly fashion where you're actually mitigating an area, so you don't have to send emergency services personnel back to that single home that got left. So we're trying to build on the buyout project that was done before, and the objective here is to try to mitigate that area entirely.
In your experience, though, will there be more money to get 20 more homes?
We're going to go to that here in just a minute. We're going to go
on that one.
Yeah.
okay, my question
So I guess what we need tonight is approval for Rod to say, yes, we're going to move forward for the $400,000 that's available through the state.
From the Board of Works
Is
perspective,
that a Board of Works decision, Tim?
well,
It's really council, because they have to appropriate the funds.
Okay.
But the Board of Works certainly can weigh in on it.
Okay. Put that
I
down
would
on your
make the
agenda.
motion to
I'll second that. So, yeah.
bring it to council
Yeah.
for recommendation, for approval.
Okay, good. Now, the next item is, there is other funds available. Now, we got to go through the grant process. These are not funds that are left over from other projects and sitting in a hill down in Indianapolis. These are regular funds that we apply for like everybody else in the United States.
Yes, this would be in the next grant cycle, depending on whether and it sounds like money may be tight, so you may want to opt to go for the 16 submittal instead of 15 yet.
So there is a grant cycle here in 2015
Yes,
yet?
that deadline of August 28th.
Oh, that one.
There's approximately, I think, $45 million. It's a nationally competitive grant program for all 50 states.
Is that something similar to what we went through in 2006?
Yes, that particular grant, yes.
Okay.
The initial grant, after the '03 flood, if you remember, we had gotten a grant that was being executed in 2004 that allowed us to buy the first 16 houses. And that was post-disaster monies. Then the remaining of the houses was through this nationally competitive grant.
Okay.
Now, the current administration has promised, I'm talking national administration, has promised $175 million in that pre-disaster grant program for 2016. So at least they're starting to put money into that program.
So 42 million in 2015?
15.
And 175 million?
Yes.
There was a lot of flooding in 15 though also. I mean, not just in Decatur.
Yeah.
Nationwide, there was a lot of flooding.
Go down to Portland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the advantage you have, as demonstrated by the call from the state, they know that we have, and we, again, Maumee River Basin Commission working in cooperation with the local communities, we have the data that on an instant notice, we can begin putting that grant application together and do it very expediently. We're the only community, the 6 counties in the state that can do that.
Okay, good deal. I don't know if how much would you recommend that we ask for in this round of grant cycle?
The current cycle?
Yeah.
Well, I was just sharing with Roger before we came up here, we're looking at somewhere around $1.6 million, and that doesn't include the 2
That we just,
that have just been turned in. So it's sort of, how we would...
So you're looking at all 22 homes, or 24 now?
Well,
That's what you requested anyhow, whether you get it,
it's
you
sort
request
of, it's sort of what the city can afford to, to support, I guess.
yeah.
And it's also a 20% match?
A 25% match.
25%.
Yeah.
So your 1.6 does not include the 400,000 we need?
No.
So, well, you're not looking at $2 million total?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see how we'd be ready for that by August 28th.
Yeah, and see, you may want to just bite off a chunk,
now.
whether it's this year or next year, but at least you're continuing the mitigation efforts.
Right.
You're going to hang around for council?
I can't.
No.
I told him
I'll
he
put
didn't
him up
have
toward
to.
the top just so you won't stay too long.
There you go. Sorry, Rod, I hope I get you out of here just a bit. Nate, do you have any comments?
And something that we discussed earlier, I presented about this, pursuing Army Corps funding for flood planning, and that was part of the reason I brought Rod down, was to discuss the MRBC's flood plain management plan, and it was refreshing to see the report and what documentation that they have already. As far as the stormwater budget, we were looking at setting aside $50,000 a year within stormwater to pursue Army Corps funding for actual flood mitigation projects. The MRBC plan that we have right now would be ideal. So it's kind of my hope, or at least intent, that we take a portion of the stormwater funds with the increase and pursue this, because it essentially clears the way for larger stormwater projects. So we're in lieu of pursuing Army Corps funds this time for construction projects. This is an immediate return on the investment at 4-to-1. So stormwater couldn't fund the entire project, at least not.
But you may have 30,000.
Well, if it's $30,000 or
Yeah.
$50,000.
That may be the funding mechanism we need for this $400,000 grant.
Yeah. And if it's a little bit each year, if that's
Yeah.
the max that we can do, that's 50,000 and they can match it, then that's 2 homes a year, and at 50 homes, yeah, it takes 20 years to buy them all out, but you know what, we're doing it. 20 years from now, we're not laying a sandbag.
It's 10 years ago when we had the last one, so.
You would have been, many of these that we had hit wouldn't have been there.
No, that was 100 years ago. 100-year flood.
So.
A 100-year flood that comes every 10 years.
So honestly, if we can get the homes
Explain
out of there,
that.
flood runoff, it clears areas for us to do some floodplain controls. There's stormwater infrastructure that's there that's really kind of trapped along the riverfront. We can do some improvements.
Nate, I just want to be cautious that,
Exactly.
we raised the stormwater fee recently, and the reason we did that was to get some projects going. So I really would like to see projects going that people can see in their neighborhood that, hey, we're doing a stormwater project here. That's why we raised the rates.
And prior to the first house going down to the buyout, we'll actually have a number of projects underway. So, and this is as a percentage of the overall stormwater budget with the increase. This is somewhere in the range of about 15%. 10% of the budget that we'll be looking at, depending on what we have in mind.
So I think we're ready for the $400,000 one. I don't know, you have to decide about the next one, if you want to go for 1.6 million or wait till next year and do that. I think by waiting, we would have a better handle on our financial situation.
But in the next 10 years, it'd be nice to tear them all down.
Yeah. If you do 5 a year,
That would be
I
nice.
don't know.
And you don't have to go for all 22. The nice thing about the prioritization, it's not who I think should be purchased, it isn't who Roger, Nate thinks should be purchased. It's very if I can say scientifically, based on factual data, that's how we've established our priorities. And if you choose to say you only want to go after 2 to 4 houses a year, that's a lot better than
None.
sitting back and, not going after any.
That's right. Yeah. And we're starting off with 5 right off the bat, so we got 5 worst ones done, so, okay. Any other questions for Rod? Appreciate it, Rod. Thank you for coming, and we'll return the favor. Roger will come to your meeting on Thursday.
Thanks for making us a priority.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Another item we had here was, I think everybody's familiar with the Craig Wood property there at Jackson and 2nd Street. That has been purchased by an individual. That individual has asked if we would help them dispose of items, trash, and whatever else at the transfer station. Jeremy, I don't know, I talked to you a little bit about that. If you'd come up. So what they're saying, they're asking us, they'll haul it out there, they'll put it
Did you talk to them, or
upstairs.
are you just going by my email I sent you?
I
Okay.
checked with just Jeremy and I
Okay.
talked about it. I have not talked to the new owner,
Okay,
so.
so you're taking that from the email I sent?
That's right, that's right. I don't know, I talked to Jeremy a little bit about it, and I think why don't you sit over here so we can get you on the microphone. Jeremy's concerned about doing something for somebody, and then somebody else is going to come around next year and say, hey, you did it for these people, can you take care of the disposal fees for me on a demolition project? That basically right, Jeremy? You don't have it in the budget.
That and the funding on how we would pay for the disposal. That was basically my 2 concerns. The way we do the removals now and the demolitions and stuff like that is the people are billed accordingly, coming right off the weight tickets.
So you take the stuff out to the transfer station, it's weighed, converted into dollars, and then we charge the individual.
Yes,
for that.
that's how we're doing them now with these dilapidated garages and stuff. That was my only 2 concerns with going this other route. Is are we opening ourselves up for something?
Well, and the other thing that we could do, and I'm not saying we should do it, but is we could ask the Solid Waste Management District to charge the same rate that we have for the city. And that would be up to the Solid Waste District.
And the Waste District has assisted us with earlier cleanups, like the Saturday cleanups and stuff that were held a couple years ago. Hank was really supportive of that.
You're talking about down there?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
So there was, there could be some cooperation with Hank and the Solid Waste District.
I think that alone would probably be sufficient.
Yeah, I don't know what the rates are. I don't know what we pay compared to what the general public pays.
It's probably
25% discounted?
It's probably about a $5 discount somewhere.
Per yard?
Per ton.
Per ton?
And keep in mind, I only spoke with the missus. It was just in a casual setting, and this was brought up, okay? It wasn't like I talked to the man of the house on this subject.
Well,
And
is it okay if we have, go ahead.
Actually, they may have, or the husband may have other connections for some cheaper disposal.
Yeah, I mean, she may have been speaking out of place by even asking me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just want to be a little cautious with doing something.
But I think if there is an opportunity for us to, through
Any
the
help?
Solid Waste District, we've been on this property for 5 years at least trying to get it cleaned up. Somebody bought it,
We could
wants to
offer
clean it up.
We could offer our help as for going down there and, like that garage is completely full, I understand.
Yeah.
But I also totally
I think
understand
it-
where Jeremy's coming from.
Yeah. I think we're all happy that somebody else is involved.
I'm glad we're not taking the whole house to the dump.
That's my only two concerns.
Yeah. Thanks.
Is it okay to direct Jeremy to talk with Hank out at the solid waste district to see if we can get a city rate versus a general public
I
rate?
mean, I think that's fair, because he's not asking us to haul it.
Right, he's gonna do the
No.
hauling.
And that would be the difference. I mean, when we take down, you guys do the work yourselves to take it down and to haul it away, and then you bill them. In this situation, you're not asking us to do any work. It's just,
Yeah.
so,
Is it okay, I got that?
yeah.
Yep.
Make a motion,
Yep.
Kenny. I'll second it. Thank you. Motion's carried.
Let me know, Jeremy. Let us know.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, I'm going to talk to that individual tomorrow. about
Okay,
some of
okay.
that, So,
And like I said, he may not even know she asked that, so
that's good.
careful, yeah.
I mean, because the other side of this is that if this was 6 months down the road, it may all be on us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You take the whole thing to the dump.
Yeah, that's true. The other item I have is some of the alleys that are currently closed. They've been closed for quite a few years. No one seems to know why they got closed, but they're closed. And now some people in those neighborhoods are asking why they're closed and if they could be opened back up.
I go back to the fire chief that said it's a public safety concern. He wants them open. My opinion is
Is
they
that
should be
right,
open.
Is that right?
What?
The alleys that are closed. For public safety reason, you'd like to see them open?
Depends on where they're at. We normally try to avoid alleys anyway.
Unless we got something that's back in there, we can't get trucks down out like that. The trucks is going to be tearing them up.
We rarely,
We drag the hose back and
we rarely have clearance to get through any of, really just about any alleys.
No, I think
They
it,
do make an area for us to drag hose, or they do
Yeah.
create...
Yeah, that becomes an issue then if you're dragging hose and the alley's blocked, you can't get through.
And it does create some easement space there where you can't build fences back to back if there's an alley there, so it does give us an in and out without having fenced-in yards meeting one another, but as far as for the trucks, no, they're not.
I'd be interested in Jeremy's opinion.
any idea how many we have?
I know of 3.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Technically, they have no right to close it unless...
He just called up Fred and it got closed.
That's just closure.
Your opinion on opening up alleyways versus closed?
we talked about this a couple months ago in here.
Yeah, we did.
And I think everybody was pretty much in the consensus to open them. We was not going to get in a big hurry about going around and getting them open the right away.
But you actually get residents calling and wanting them to be open.
Well, I had one, that's all. I don't want to mislead you. I had one person call. It really wasn't a call, it was an email
Open or closed?
to open them.
To open.
Wondered why it's closed. Does it become an issue for the police? Craig, Mike, do you
We'd like
think?
to have everything open that we could possibly have open for any kind of that.
Makes response quicker for you guys.
Should be open.
Talking with other utilities, with AEP and NIPSCO, even ourselves, everybody's in the consensus that they want them open because of accessibility. You drive down a lot of these back alleys, the weeds and the trees and everything have grown out so far that a lot of them you can't access. There's vehicles sitting in the middle of them. You know, they barricaded them off however they can barricade them off to keep the people out. You know, it gets to be an issue during storms, for AEP, for power outages. There's transformers down every one of these alleys, or the biggest share of them.
Okay.
Every time we discuss closing an alley in a public meeting, I get a phone call from AEP saying that they're not in favor of closing. So,
I think the process would be is to contact the adjoining 4 people that own property at these closures and say, hey, we are going to be opening these alleys up. If you have any comments, please address them as soon as possible.
Bill Carball and I had this conversation about 2 weeks ago, and when Bill comes back from Colorado, we have, a lengthy list of things that we're going to sit down and start looking at, and these alleys were one of those. So,
Good. I think
we were
just-
going to notify the people prior to, instead of just pulling the barricades. And
I'm gonna put it down on the agenda for the next meeting, and maybe you can give us some feedback at that time, and
Okay.
and maybe give us some direction on how we approach this.
I'll give you some addresses, some locations.
Yeah,
Maybe
I only
give it
know.
to Tim on a letter. Or
Is there only 3? Is there only 3 locations, or is there more?
That we know of?
There's more than that?
There's probably 5 or 6.
Okay.
One of them has been taken care of, but there's still a lot of residentials.
All right. I think that's all I have. Tim, you got something you want to bring up?
Yes.
That disposal fee for concrete?
Yeah, I
Do
said,
you wanna-
we need to do an ordinance on that. I've started drafting, I just haven't done it. I'll try to have it ready for the 18th. Any concrete that's being disposed of at the
Street garage?
street garage,
property?
you need to have an ordinance in place that's authorizing the fee and where that fee gets deposited. So I'll put together something on that.
Well, I think if somebody's doing a sidewalk, a city sidewalk, for example, I think we allow them to take it down to Elm Street and drop it off there. There is no fee.
I don't know. I thought there was.
We got the guy to ask back there.
Huh?
Yeah, the guy to ask. He's talking to the concrete guys at this time. Spanky. Yeah, do we charge, and not pick on Jim because he's here, but like Jim does the sidewalk, city sidewalk, we allow him to dispose of the broken concrete on Elm Street, right? Or do we remove it even?
Yeah, the city removes it,
Yeah, city removes it, okay.
Is it that way, not only for you, but for anyone, right? Like, for
Yeah.
example, across the street from me, they just redid that driveway there.
If I take some out for a driveway to an individual, they got a tablet in there, that, you pay for that per yard.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
But if the city's doing that, what they're doing, they're tearing that out so they can do more sidewalks and stuff.
that's different.
And that, keep that more money in that so they don't charge more for
Yeah.
the sidewalks.
So
And
homeowner
then-
does pay.
Yeah, okay. So that's what you're talking about there,
Yeah,
is
well-
charging that, we have to do that by ordinance.
Yes, if you're going to charge a fee to dispose of it there,
And we don't have that at this time?
apparently not.
Don't tell Jim.
I know. Okay, but I'm still confused then. So what we're saying is if somebody is participating in the sidewalk program,
We
that
take that.
concrete we take out and we don't charge
Charge
for
anybody, right.
that, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, the city tears it out and hauls it out.
Okay,
Or like what we're doing on 7th Street or on
is that right?
Winchester Street right now, where that's a city project,
Mhm.
when we take it out.
Okay, that's why I just want to make sure I understand when somebody gets charged and when they don't.
The only time they get charged if it's a private job. If you're doing your driveway, you're doing a garage floor, you're doing a patio, or you're doing...
Whatever it is.
Okay,
We do all the removal for all city work. Sidewalks, curbing, stuff like that. We pull
And that
out,
doesn't get
we
charged?
haul it away, there's no fee because it's ours.
okay. So whether it's a private contractor that's doing the work or the city's doing the work,
Correct.
if it's a city project, it doesn't get
City
charged?
project, we do the removal.
Okay.
But like for you, if you're replacing a driveway, you have Spank do it,
Mm-hmm.
do the work. He does the removal on that. It's X amount of dollars per yard to get rid of that concrete. We grind it up, reuse it for sidewalk
Right.
projects, road projects, stuff like that.
Who determines how many yards? Is that,
We take it off of the actual project.
so you measure up, hey,
Measure
you're
it
gonna,
up.
8 by 8,
20
Area,
by 5,
6
20 by
inches
20 by
thick.
4, whatever it is.
that's fine.
There's a formula to figure that out.
So Tim's gonna draw up a ordinance for that. Do we want to charge by the square yard or the cubic yard? Cubic yard?
It's $6 per cubic yard, correct?
Okay. Good.
So, just like Brooks is out on 13th Street doing all that work,
Yeah, what are they doing with that?
they've been giving us a little bit of it. They want to continue, but I told them, I said, we need to get a ordinance set up to do that, so.
They're
basically on hold at this point.
They normally take that back to their, they recycle too.
Okay.
They'll reuse that concrete, crush it up.
They gave us just a little bit. They were in a little bit of a pinch, but, once they get going, then we're,
MPH.
get the ordinance passed and such.
That's where the money goes.
That's good.
All right, good.
Makes good stuff.
Okay, good.
Which it's a win for us because it's cheap stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have a cost of grinding it up.
Yeah, you have the cost of grinding it up, but it's
Cheaper than buying.
$1.50 cheaper per ton, just to buy it,
Mhm.
plus your time, plus the trucking,
Yeah.
wear and tear, so it's a win.
Good. Okay, thanks, Jeremy. So, Tim, I guess you're given some direction to prepare an ordinance?
Yeah, I talked to Jeremy and Phyllis about this,
Will
so
that be at the next meeting?
I'll try to have it ready for the next one.
Les, go ahead.
I have a quick question for Tim and Phyllis, I guess. 2 weeks from tonight, we'll open bids on the
Fire trucks?
fire truck, the Yukon, and the tanker. Once they turn in a sealed bid at the Board of Works, could that person come and up their ante if they...
How'd you advertise?
I don't think
Sealed
it's-
bid.
Okay, if you want the ability to allow bidders to increase bids once the bids are open, you have to advertise the
That way.
specs that way.
So
And that
the way
can
we-
be done.
So the way, but we would,
But I said it's included in.
we've already advertised, so...
So the answer is no. They can't up
They're
their bid.
not going to be able to,
But the Board of Works can reject the bid.
they could reject the bids and rebid it and then allow that at a
Through a
later
whole new
time if they're not
process?
satisfied with the bids.
Right, okay, you kind of answered my, I'll put a, we will have, I won't be here 2 weeks from tonight, but Jim will be, and we'll have a, I think, the tanker, if we get one interested party, it needs to go away. I've talked to Jeremy, it is 40 years old, it just needs to go bye-bye, but we probably will...
Did you tell your wife that?
She told me that.
Let me ask,
The Yukon, we probably will, we do have the option in the way it's advertised to reject it, and I would say probably $2,000 is going to be...
Somebody could not submit a bid saying,
Yeah.
says, my bid...
so we have the right to reject all bids.
My
Yeah.
bid is $100 more than the highest bid you got. Can
No.
you submit a bid that way?
No. You have to,
That answers my question.
no.
So so we will, I think we will go ahead with that, but the question was asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know the question was asked, because I was asked.
So we-
And it's, the better way to do it, the proper way to do it would be if you want for individuals who submit a bid, have an option to increase it, then you lay out the bid specifications.
I know the
and give them
county,
that
the
right.
county has done that at farm ground.
Yeah.
They're running with farm
Well,
ground.
and I think that's
Down
where
there.
the
Solid waste
question-
district.
I don't know why they just don't have an auction, so, okay.
Yeah,
But it's
Well, it ends up
a
in.
type of an auction.
so that answers my, but I don't want to start over, so I think we'll either go with if it's not enough, we'll reject that bid on the Yukon, but I think we'll take anything on, salvage weight is pretty much what the old tanker is going to bring,
Tank.
about 200 a ton, so that would be a fair bid, unless,
That's not bad.
figure it probably weighs about 12 ton.
2,400 bucks.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Take that.
Yeah.
Okay. Would the Board of Works rather, I mean, if it's 1,000, are we going to be good with that?
I think your recommendation was if we can get anything for it, get rid
Well,
of it.
that's-
40 years old, it's outlawed, live
You know,
yourself.
I want Phyllis to be able to get
I mean,
off the insurance roll, and I want to...
If the guy wants to turn it in for scrap, he's got to make his money, so.
Yeah, and Jeremy's tired of moving it around down there, so, we just need to make that go away. But the other one, we will put a reserve on it, 2,000, so.
That's the reserve on that?
That would be the minimum, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Les. That's all I have. Anyone got anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Thank you, everybody.